Preseason is right around the corner, and it looks like Riot is looking to make it a goal this year to get all the changes out a lot sooner than they usually do. As you guys probably know from previous seasons, preseason is when they kind of take a look at the game and figure out what they need to change, but more so than just the small tweaks and buffs and nerfs that they do during the season every couple weeks. They're looking to really revamp the game, give it some new life, make it interesting, and switch things up. I have not looked at this yet, but in today's video, I'll be going over all the preseason changes that you need to know about, giving you kind of a rundown on it and sharing some of my thoughts so that you guys don't need to look into it yourself. Let's go ahead and get started then. First things first, the return of Chemtech. Chemtech is something that I didn't actually have a whole lot of experience with. I didn't really play towards the start of this season, so I didn't have a poor experience like I know a lot of people probably did. All I do know is that when they changed the whole dragon system as they did and Chemtech was introduced along with Hextech, Hextech worked. Obviously, we had it for the entirety of the season. Chemtech did not. It was just too game breaking, and they got rid of it. If they're reintroducing it now, I'm hoping they probably learned their lesson, and it's not going to be as broken as before. Especially like the way that the map changed, and you couldn't see people on the map. That was just game breaking, and it didn't work. So the Chemtech Drake will grant tenacity, heal, shield, strength. I like the tenacity. I don't think it's ever really fun when you're playing against a team composition that just has a ton of CC. If you're up against like a Sejuani jungle plus a Leona support and you're just getting locked down in one shot, that's not a fun experience. So adding more tenacity into the game, I like that. Heal and shield strength. As a support main myself, you would think I like this. However, we've tried to move away from healing and shielding meta, it seems, because when you have a meta that just revolves around an insane amount of healing and shielding, that's another mechanic that's just very unhealthy for the game. Even though you don't want to be able to get locked down in one shot, you also just don't want to have a game where everybody's constantly getting overly healed and shielded and it's impossible to kill anybody. Chemtech Soul will grant bonus damage when below a certain amount of health. I think that's fine. The Rift will now take on a new Chemtech inspired appearance featuring blah 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 upgraded effects. If that's just an appearance thing, cool. A lot of people miss like the old stuff like the Snow Day map. I think the map can start to look a little stale at times. Even something like a visual change could be pretty cool. Blast cones will now blast twice the range as before. I don't know how much that will impact the game. I don't know if there's going to be certain walls that you'll be able to now go over because you can go twice as far. If that's the case, that's cool. If not, I guess that could be good for when you're trying to run away from somebody. Now you'll be able to blast twice as far away, but that's not the biggest thing in the world. Honey fruits will upgrade into stem fruits, no longer slowing champions that consume them and granting a small bonus shield in addition to the usual heal. So again, this is pretty interesting. Like I think that some of the dragon changes, even though they look visually different, they don't really impact the map all too much, aside from maybe the Cloud Dragon map, which gives you more movement speed moving around. But this map seems to actually be impacting the map in a very fun and cool way that's not camouflaging everybody and breaking the game. So I like the direction that they're moving in here. I would actually like to see them maybe even try to implement some more of these changes with the other dragon maps, so that they feel just as impactful when they do change the map. Will now upgrade. Sky's Bloom will now upgrade into Stalker's Bloom when hit these plants. Nice. When hit these plants, will now reveal a small circular area around a plant and a cone opposite of the direction it was hit, granting movement speed towards revealed enemy champions and reducing wards. I really like this as well. So this is going to change the map in a way that you can now take advantage of vision a little bit more, and it's going to enhance. So it seems like Chemtech map is just going to kind of alter and enhance all of the things that you'll find in the jungle, blast cones, honey fruits, and the Scryer's bloom. So pretty cool stuff there. The jungle improvements now, moving on. This is the avatars, which I have heard of, but have no idea what they necessarily consist of. So this could get pretty interesting here. Jungle is a dangerous place and it's dangerous to go alone, so taking one of these jungle pets by purchasing them in the in-game shop as an egg, these pets will acquire treats through monster kills and slowly over time as the game progresses, which will help them evolve. Once evolved, pets will give their owners avatar buffs, which will empower them with different abilities. So I didn't know when I originally saw this, I didn't know if this was going to be kind of like a TFT thing where I don't even know what they're necessarily called, but you have those little characters that kind of follow you around. I didn't know if that was the direction they were going to go, just kind of like a cosmetic thing, a money grab. But the fact that it gives you buffs is pretty interesting. So we are definitely enhancing the game a little bit here. There's going to be 3 different ones, it looks like. Pet choice for jungles looking to play more aggressively. one that's for tanks, and then ones that are looking to move around the map a little bit quicker. So it seems like you should be able to adapt based on the champion or playstyle that you're looking to have. My fear is that with only having these three options here, the game may get a little stale. For example, if you have a tank, a jungler, are you just going to be buying this item every single game because you are simply a tank and this is the only option? Or can you play a tank, but maybe you want to play more aggressive, so this will be viable? Or maybe you're playing a tank and you want to actually be super active early game, so this one will be more viable. If they're able to come out with these items and they are able to work in these different ways, I think that's a beautiful aspect of the game. You want variety anytime you're playing the game and it seems like the build paths get super stale and you're just building the same items over and over and over again, and there's not a lot of diversity. That's a bad direction. So I like this idea. I just want to see if they're able to execute on these items, I suppose. Moving on, this is leashing range indicators. I read into this one a little bit actually already. I think I saw it on Twitter. But one thing I do like about this, I've always kind of said this, is League of Legends is not a very good game for beginners. It's not very beginner friendly. I've been playing this game for 10 years or so, and I know a lot of people who have been playing this game for a very long time, but I don't know a lot of people who are just getting into League, and I think it's because there's this big barrier that kind of prevents people from getting into the game. It's just, like I said, not very beginner friendly. So this is a nice little change that probably won't impact the veterans per se, but the people who are trying to get into this game, League of Legends is still trying to adapt, as we see from their drastic changes that they take every season, and they're trying to bring in new players. So I think that this is a nice healthy change. It's just going to make it so that you can kind of see how far away you can pull the jungle camps without losing aggro. And I think that's, on top of the game not being very friendly to beginners, learning jungle is increasingly more difficult for beginners. So that's a really good healthy change. Recommended jungle paths, that's another just helpful change for beginners. Communication tools. Now, I will read into this and see if they mention voice comms whatsoever. I am very pro voice comms. I feel like every competitive game that has any kind of success has voice comms other than League of Legends. The fact that they're adding more ping options makes me believe that this is the direction they're moving in, not in voice comms. And I guess this is still good. Better have more communication options than none. Specifically, like as a support player, whenever I'm trying to, let's say I'm trying to engage for a 2v2, I would just have to ping like on my way or assistance, which is kind of misleading. Oh, and I might, if I were trying to push in a wave and recall, I might also be pinging on my way or assistance. So it's just kind of hard to communicate with your teammates at times. So adding more options is pretty good. And so it looks like here the pings that we all know and love are going to be sticking around. They're adding a push, all in, hold, and bait. This seems okay. The bait one seems a bit niche. I don't know how much you'll be utilizing that. I guess this could be used for holding the wave. This could be good for pushing all in. I guess this is kind of the same thing as on my way, but it's just a more clear and effective way to say that you're looking for a fight. I think this is a good direction. I'm not going to put too much thought into this and figure out what exactly I would like these new pings to necessarily say, but this is a good step in the right direction. New vision pings. So right now, as far as vision goes, we just have warded area. So this is going to say vision cleared. This is actually very good though, because this is, sometimes you would clear an area when you're trying to use your sweeper and clear a vision around Dragon or Baron, and then it feels really bad when your jungler comes by 20 seconds later and does the exact same thing. So this is actually really helpful. I like that. Enemy vision, I guess that's going to kind of be replacing the area is warded. And then need vision, I like this as well. Again, when it came to these pings, it's just kind of hard to communicate exactly what you're trying to do. A lot of times I would be pinging on my way to Baron, and that's my way of telling my team, hey, we need to try to get vision in this area. Now they're not going to know that I'm trying to do Baron, but I'm actually trying to get vision. So very good there. Objective voting. I don't know how effective this will be, but let's take a look at it. Getting your team on board with taking the objective could be difficult, and having everyone ping on my way if they contest or retreat can get very confusing. I agree, especially when one person is spam pinging on my way. You don't know if that's everybody pinging and that they're on the same page, or if that's just one person kind of taking over. So they're introducing a new voting function that will appear when objectives are pinged that will function similarly to a surrender vote. I like their idea here. It just seems like it's adding another element to it. And I don't know how effective this is going to be. It could be kind of confusing, You are in a 5v5 fight, you pick off two of them, it's still a 5v3 on the map, and you might want to go to Baron. But if you're spending time focusing on a vote, then maybe you're not going to be utilizing your time well enough. And if you're not all on the same page and too focused on this vote, then you might be able to throw this opportunity in a 5v3 situation. I might be overthinking it again. This is one of those things where I guess it doesn't necessarily hurt to have it. Maybe I won't even end up using this, but this will be interesting to see how this develops and if it is, in fact, able to be utilized properly. Off-screen pings. The last communication change we have for you is small quality of life update that will notify which direction off-screen ping came by displaying it on the edge of your screen. This is just for clarity, I guess, especially with their adding all of these different pings. And now it's going to be not only clear what you're trying to say, but where it's coming from. So far, I don't know. I mean, I might go on and see that there's a lot of other big changes that they're adding. But aside from the Chemtech Dragon, it seems like their main focus this season is all about communication, which I do think is very healthy. In previous seasons, they have added huge changes like the jungle overhaul or the item overhaul or runes reforged or the dragon update. All these different things that they've added have really changed the game in a big way. And it's kind of nice to see them focusing on communication because this is their way of saying the game doesn't necessarily need to be changed in a big way. We just need to make what we have better for the players that we do already have. So I like that a lot. Vision systems, Vision system updates, allied ward tracking. There are currently ways to see how many wards you have out. There isn't a quick way to check which wards are closest to expiring, other than manually looking at every ward place. This is true. Other than when you're placing a ward, sometimes you could see one that is going to be taken off the map next. We're introducing new visuals on the new ward visuals on the mini map that will indicate when wards are close to expiring. This is, again, as far as clarity goes, they're making the game better for the players that we have right now and making communication easier and making everything just more clear and understandable. Love that. Enemy ward timers. It can be hard to keep track of every single ward that gets placed on the map and even harder to successfully communicate that information to your teammates. Kind of said that already. Sometimes you clear vision and your teammates don't know, etc., etc. Now, if you ping an enemy ward that you saw them place within the last seconds, a perfect, accurate ward timer will appear until the ward is removed or expired. So this is saying if you do ping a ward that you saw them place, then you will get a ward timer. So this is going to encourage all players to actually utilize their vision pings. And if you do so properly, you get an accurate timer on their ward. I don't personally love this. I am all for clarity, but I think this is just part of the game. Knowing when their wards expire or when they place a ward, that was kind of a cool thing to keep in your mind. Hey, I saw them place this ward at this time, so it should be cleared at this time. That means our jungler can try to path and come gank around that time. I liked that mind aspect of the game, the mental games. This I don't necessarily love, but I do understand it because not everybody is going to be putting that much thought into the game. Loadout and ability recommendations. We've already kind of implemented build recommendations in the past season or so, so let's see what they add here. Another change we're excited to introduce is the optional recommended rune pages and summoner spells and champion select. This kind of seems like this is more intended for beginners again, so making things clear and making things just better for the players that have been around for 10 years and just making the communication easier and more effective, but also still focusing on those new players, so stuff like the timers for the jungle or the wards or sometimes just recommended builds, runes, summoner spells. That all seems fine. This is all for beginners. Don't want to dive into this too much. Top lane changes. We'll also be making some adjustments to help top laners scale faster and hit those key item and level breakpoints relative to mid and bot. These changes will be as followed. So solo lane XP is going to be going from 93 to 95. Duo lanes now go from 22 to 24. Mid lane changes. All minions spawned in mid lane will now be worth 1 less gold before 14 minutes when last hit. Previously, only cannon minions were worth less gold, but were worth 10 less gold. Okay. Obviously, as a support main, I am biased. I do not think we need a nerf in dual lane XP and an increase in solo lane XP. But the lucky thing about this is this will hopefully have an experimental period, so we'll see how much this actually impacts the game. And if it doesn't end up working out, hopefully they revert it. I will give the experts the benefit of the doubt. Maybe this is a healthy change. I don't love it at first glance, but we'll just have to see. From my personal experience, I don't think bot lane as a whole was super overpowered in this most recent season. So I don't know why they're taking this direction to kind of give more power in the solo lanes and less in the bot lane. But it is what it is. We'll see how that progresses. New and updated items. We're introducing 12 new updated items in this preseason. I love this. I'm always a fan of new items because, as I said earlier, sometimes the game can get boring and stale as far as your build paths go. If you're playing someone like Nami, every single game you're going CDR boots, mandate, spell thieves, Chemtech, redemption. It's the same order or same items necessarily. You're not always going the same order, but it does get boring and repetitive. So looks like they're adding a bunch of new items. I'm not going to go into this all too much. I would recommend that you guys take a look at it yourself. I don't want to break down every single item because I'm not a big numbers guy. I'm going to look at these items once they're in the game and kind of look at the win rates and see what works then. Don't want to take too much of a dive onto that now. And that actually wraps up all the changes that they're looking for. So again, I do kind of like this because it's not a huge overhaul to the game as they have done in previous seasons. It's more just refining and perfecting and adjusting and tweaking some of the things that we already have in the game. I would have loved voice comms. I don't think we need to add necessarily all of these changes. We don't need to make our pings better, and we don't need to make our ability to communicate about vision better in the game. If we just have voice comms and we can use our voice. That's just my opinion personally, though. I am excited, though. This seems like a good, healthy change for old and new players, and they're still trying to add some new things like new items, as well as the Chemtech Dragon. So I think it's going to be a good, fun season. I would say the biggest thing that I'm upset about is the XP changes, but as I said, I'll let the experts stick to that. Anyways, that is going to wrap up the end of this preseason changes review. I hope you guys were able to find this video helpful or enjoyable. If you did, please be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.